All right, let's have some fun, man. Let's have a winning schedule show. And it is Raiders Roundtable. Do we need to get a sponsor read in? Is this America West or something else? Got it. You got it. Welcome to this special edition of Raiders Roundtable from Raiders headquarters, brought to you by America First Credit Union. I'm JT, and we got the schedule. The schedule release show back in headquarters. We got great guests, a big show lined up. Appreciate everybody watching, listening on Raider Nation Radio and on Raiders.com and the YouTube channel. And man, I'm excited. Every time I get in this building and I'm able to break down a schedule this time of year, it's optimism, and boy, I've been waiting for this for a while, so will you, and the schedule is out. You saw it last night. The Raiders did an incredible job with their schedule release video, throwing a couple of punches, which I like overall. I thought it was fantastic. A lot of people saw that around the league. Great job by Silver and Black Productions with everything they do. And now, Raider Nation, you got the schedule, and I'm big on this because I said when you get the schedule, this is when you start booking trips. You start booking road trips. You find the city you want to. Maybe it's the city closest to you. If you're not living in Vegas and Oakland in the Bay Area, you got to come to Vegas. If you're a Raider fan from LA and Oakland, you find the games, the hotels, the tickets, you get here. And for the season ticket holders, to the fans who can only go to maybe one game a year and you're traveling, this is your schedule. Embrace it, and we'd like to get your opinions on this as we go forward. Now, throughout my career with the Silver and Black, I've been a complainer with the schedule. I've been hard on the schedule. I was taught how to read it when I came to the team in '98, the bye week, road, traveling. Raiders always had big miles because they were traveling from Oakland all the way back east. Strength of schedule is really important. Cold weather games, dome games, when are you home back-to-back, and especially the bye week. I love this schedule. I do. Last year I went nuts. I went nuts because we didn't get home games on Monday Night Football until they gave us Atlanta at the end of the year. And I said, you got to be kidding me. Who wants Atlanta? There's no natural rivalry there. So at the end of the year, they could flex out of it. I went nuts last year when the schedule came out. I didn't like it at all. I'm sick and tired of opening up on the road in LA and ending in LA. I wanted to see something unique. And I didn't want to see a lot of international travel. I think the Raiders will do that in the future, but clean slate. Playing here, not going to Brazil and going to Dublin and playing in Munich, which could have happened with the Colts. I love this schedule. Excuses die, the record stands. You play this schedule and you play it hard, and you don't care where you're playing and when it is on the schedule. Just knock it down one after another. So I think Raider Nation looks at the schedule and they say, I'm good with it. We got 2 Monday night home games, which are massive. The games on the road are really important. We open up with 2 out of 3 on the road in hostile environments. Remember, this isn't the Patriots of Tom Brady, now minority owner of the team. This is the new look Patriots, and then you got to go back to the nation's capital pretty quickly after that on a short week. It's not perfect, but I think Raider Nation, with the additions of Ashton Genty, Brock Bowers last year, Geno Smith coming to this franchise, and most importantly, John Spytek and his staff and Pete Carroll are looking at this differently. Pete Carroll wants the greatest schedule. Pete Carroll wants to go undefeated. That's who he is. So everybody who we look at and talk to about this schedule is ready to play it. And we want your impact, and we want you to tell us what you think on all social media outlets of the Raiders here. My quick analysis on this as we open up. When I look at the travel, fine with it. I love the bye week. The bye week is right where it needs to be, right in the middle of the schedule on the earlier side. Perfect time for a bye week. But what I love most about it is we have two marquee games at home. If you're a home season ticket holder, and I am, and you pay for these tickets, you want big games. You get the Dallas Cowboys coming in, which will probably be the most demanding game the Raiders have had in regards to just fandom and fans from the opposition and Raider Nation wanting to get in the building for that. And the Raiders open up at home September 15th against the Chargers, where they've been okay against the Chargers in Las Vegas, and they struggled at SoFi. You knew you were going to get a division game at home or on the road early, and you get one at home instead of on the road. This is very important to me because remember last year's and in years past, you open up with two on the road, then you come home week 3 for a home opener. I didn't want to see that again either. Didn't want to wait for the season to get 2 games under your belt and then come home for the home opener. The home opener is still going to be exciting, but the Raiders could come off this beating New England, Josh McDaniels, and that whole regime over there, which a bunch of new coaches, and they're going to be vastly improved. But to get a win on the road and make a statement on the road in Foxborough and come home and have an extra day for Monday Night Football and the opportunity to open up the season undefeated 2-0, that's how you get off to the races. That's how you have a great season. No matter who's on that schedule week 1, you got to beat them, home or on the road. And the Raiders are playing teams that they had a better record with. And the Raiders didn't have a good year last year when they lost 10 in a row. I talked to a gentleman today involved with the league and said another break for the Raiders is they play a last place schedule. And when the league went from 16 games to 17 games, the 17th game on a last place schedule means you play a last place team. The 17th game on a first place schedule like Kansas City, they have to play another first place team. That's a break for the Raiders. Raiders don't want to be in last place anymore in the division, but this year they have to feast on it. This year they have to take advantage of no international travel, a good schedule, a last place record, and a first place coach in Pete Carroll, and win out with the schedule. Look at the games that are 50-50 games in your opinion and go win those games. And everything can change dramatically. So I like the beginning of the schedule. It's not going to be easy. I mean, New England hasn't been good for a little bit, but they're the last great dynasty that this team is, that this league has seen, with all due respect to Kansas City and the run they went on. The Washington Commander game is interesting to me. Most of the fans that I talk to from the Black Hole, the great fans, want to go to that game. You might want to go to Houston. You might want to go to another game. I don't know where you live or where your schedule permits, but I know a lot of Raider Nation is circling the Commanders game. It's just a good place to go. East Coast, a lot of people can drive there, get there. That looks like an unbelievable game. September 28th, the Bears at home here. They got a new coach. Remember, a lot of people thought Ben Johnson would be in this building. I think it was an upgrade with Pete Carroll. That's a storyline. And one of the storylines I'm going to get to here on radio and on YouTube today is there's a lot of storylines involving Pete Carroll. Why do you think they gave the Raiders Monday night for their home opener against Jim Harbaugh versus Pete Carroll? Right there, Pete Carroll's impact in this building. We move on to the Colts and the Titans. At the Colts, an indoor dome team. The Raiders got to feel confident they can win that game. And then Tennessee at home is a game the Raiders have to win. This team had the number 1 pick in the draft for a reason. They were the worst team in football. You got to win that game, and you got to win that game at home. And then at Kansas City, which is a road game, which shouldn't be a weather-related game. Going to Kansas City throughout my career, playing them in October, mid-October, you could get some rain. You might get some wind, but you're not going to get snow, and that's not going to be a crazy game. Love the bye week. I don't think anybody has a problem with the bye week. Everybody good with that? Right after that, before Halloween, until the Raiders come home and take on the Jaguars, another team that struggled, Travis Hunter, their new name. And then on a short week from November 2nd at home, on a quick short week into Denver to take on the Broncos November 6th, Thursday night. Probably shouldn't snow. You never know, but that's another cold weather game. Better to get that game in November than late December. Then the Raiders get the Cowboys November 17th. Wow. I mean, the Jones family and the Davis family are deeply connected. From when Mr. Davis was alive, giving Jerry Jones the help he needed to be an owner, and then Jerry Jones and he really cares a lot about Mrs. Davis and Mark Davis and had a lot to do with Las Vegas. That's a monumental game. Monumental game. And believe me, the Cowboy fans are going to want your tickets. Hold on to your tickets because the Cowboy fans are everywhere, and they're going to come into Vegas. Cleveland at home, one of those last place teams, one of those teams you get that you get them at home instead of on the road. They got to win that game. And then at the Chargers, November 30th, which to me is, this team's 1-6. 1-6 at SoFi. All right, that's got to come to an end. Okay, got to go into SoFi and got to go win that game. Then we move on to Denver. Denver comes in December 7th. This December schedule is not easy. Remember, December and the Denver Broncos. The Broncos swept the Raiders last year after we beat them 8 in a row. Then the world champion Eagles, easily the toughest game on the schedule on paper. December 14th in Philadelphia on Fox. Then at Houston, a team that seems to be in the playoffs almost every year. And then the big blue wrecking crew, the Giants come in. We don't know what the Giants will look like at that point in time. The Giants have the toughest schedule in football. By that game, they could be done. And you would hope that the Raiders would be in contention. That's a home game. And then the final game of the year, Kansas City. As I said yesterday on social media, that's going to be an interesting game. If the Raiders, and we hope they're in it, which they should, that game could mean everything. It could mean a lot. Kansas City's going to be in it, period. I'm not going to sit here and drag Kansas City and act like they're not going to make the playoffs and they're not the team to beat. So that's the schedule. I love it. I don't like it. I've been known to complain. I'm not complaining about this one. Go win the games on the schedule as I bring in the great Lincoln Kennedy, the legendary offensive lineman and also part of our broadcast team. All right, Link, you looked at it. I know you're going to tell me one at a time, because that's how you focused as a 3-time Pro Bowler. But what do you think, big picture?
Actually, I need to check my mic. Sorry about that, JT.
No
I'm impressed with the schedule. Here's the thing. This is probably the first time in a long time that when I look at this schedule, the 2 games I always pay attention to, no matter the opponent, is when do we play Denver and Denver, when do we play Kansas City and Kansas City, as you referenced. The fact that we get New England out of the way early rather than late, I thought they, as you mentioned, the schedule makers did us a favor. And so it also goes back to the opportunity to defend home field. I've been adamant, as well as you and your mediums, about the Raiders need to do better at home to really make Allegiant Stadium a home field advantage. And that's what they need to get to. And they can do that by the schedule. So every season, not only fans like you and I anticipate the season starting to see what the Raiders are going to be made of, but more importantly, when you see the schedule after the draft, there's a high level of optimism.
All right, let's jump into the Denver Broncos. 2 games, obviously, and you look at this. The Raiders won 8 in a row at one point. They got swept last year. It was about Sean Payton and Bo Nix. They went out. They want to run the ball. We'll get to the Chargers later. They're beefing up their line and their running game. It comes down to Bo Nix now, still a young player who's farther ahead than I thought he would be, Lincoln. I give him a lot of respect. He's a really good player early in his career here, and I think the Raiders are going to have their hands full with him, but he's beatable.
JT, when I covered that young man at Oregon, I thought that he was well mature in his status at Oregon. He played more games than any veteran quarterback on the collegiate level, comes up to the next level. And I said it all along, while the Raiders are riding high, their 4-year win streak against the Broncos, one day the Broncos are going to figure it out. And Sean Payton has been able to figure it out. Now, they already know notorious for the stingy defense, but their offense has gotten prolifically better, and it's going to be a big challenge. Look, the Raiders are right now at the bottom of the division looking up. They have to look up at the Broncos. They have to look up at the Chargers because they haven't been able to take care of business. So I'm hoping that they can find a way to turn it around. Some things that you might want to bank on when it comes to Bo Nix is probably a sophomore slump, if you will. You've heard that phrase thrown around to quarterbacks in their second year. Once defensive coordinators get an opportunity to study the film and study some of his tendencies and sort of grade or create a game plan against that type of quarterback, then they don't have as much success as they do a lot of times when they're successful in their rookie year.
Lincoln Kennedy is our guest as we break down the schedule. We go to Kansas City, and look, Kansas City's schedule is brutal. They're in the Super Bowl every year. They're winning this division quite easily, so they're playing a first-place schedule. And I can't believe I'm about to say it. To me, I don't even look at that last game. I'm not even thinking about that because with the expanded schedule, one of the 2 teams might be out of it. It'd be fortunate if both teams were still in it, but we got all year to talk about it. We get them before the bye week. And I wanted to ask you that as a great former player. When you know the bye week's on the horizon, you're playing the conference champs, you know you're going to get a little break after that and go home and see family. Where that game sits for the Raiders, October 19th, shouldn't be a cold weather game. And the Raiders have played Kansas City as tough as any team in the NFL.
Well, it's a great opportunity for the Raiders to get over that hump. Look, last season was disappointing, especially the game in Kansas City when you losing the way the Raiders did in that fashion. But this is an opportunity to go all out, give all full effort because you know you're going to have a week behind it and some extra time to rest. So the Raiders have got to find a game plan. And it's one of the things that we talked about and one of the things that we looked at last year when I went through my recap of the season. Don't give Kansas City the ball last. They cannot have the ball to last in the fourth quarter. They cannot have it because they find a way to either tie it up and win it, and then anything can happen in overtime. Even with the new rules, overtime, everybody gets a chance to touch the ball. But with that being said, the Raiders have got to be more physical, and more importantly, they've got to find a way to keep the ball away from that offense. There have been more and more offenses I've seen, JT, over the years that have got more and more prolific in the passing game. And what's the way that you kind of slow that down? One, you keep the ball away with a great running game, time possession game, and more importantly, you find a way to get to the quarterback and harass them. Now, the Raiders can do that with their blitz packages and their pass rushers, but you don't want to have Kansas City have the ball in the end.
Lincoln, as we move on to the Chargers, there's not many coaches in this league that can take an elite passer, and he is elite in Justin Herbert, and take the ball out of his hand and build the running game. And I am very impressed with what the Chargers did in the draft, what they did last year with Alt on the offensive line. Jim Harbaugh is telling Pete Carroll he wants to run the ball. And Pete Carroll countered with Ashton Jeanty. So I love this going forward here because if Herbert's throwing all the time, I think if he gets hot, you're going to lose to Herbert no matter who he's playing. And Harbaugh is saying, no. We're going to run it. We're going to win the game in the trenches. And I think the Raiders are starting to do that also.
Well, this is my type of football, as you know, JT. I love it. When you see that power game, when you go downhill, you're attacking people rather than backing up, catching people, and trying to throw the ball. So I'm a big fan of the running game, and I'm a big fan of both what these programs have done, the Raiders and the Chargers. Look, the Chargers, swept the Raiders last year, and they seem to have their mojo going for them with this running game and their coach Harbaugh. And they've got some things that the Raiders are looking up at, just like the Chiefs, just like the Broncos. So it should be a good test for the Raiders.
I think the biggest game on the road all year is Jaden Daniels in the nation's capital. That you've played there before. They're going to have a new stadium in a couple of years. Going to look out at the Capitol and the mall. It's going to be amazing as that ownership has really turned it around there. And Lincoln, they're in the same position that the Raiders were in, that they're in now. Raiders are a 4-win team. They were 4 wins last year and went to the conference championship game. If you look at the blueprint of what the Raiders want to do, it's the Washington Commanders of last year. I can't wait for this game. I think it's a marquee game. We get to see Jaden Daniels.
Jaden Daniels has been very creative in his rookie year, what he was able to do in leading that team to the playoffs. So, he'll come high. It's another one, just like Bo Nix, I made the reference earlier, hoping for a little bit of a sophomore slump to slow that guy down. But the thing is that Jaden Daniels is I appreciate the improvisation that he shows in his offense. More importantly, I appreciate the belief that the veterans that surround him, from his offensive line, his receivers, and his running backs, they all show him. So this is going to be a big test for the Raiders when they go back east.
The Bears come into Las Vegas. This has got to be a win. I'm sorry. They got a new head coach in Ben Johnson. They completely flipped their offensive line, which I know you respect. They want to run the ball. No doubt about it. I think that Caleb Williams is going to be an elite player, former Heisman Trophy winner, but you got to get him early in his career. This team was a mess last year. They couldn't pass the ball. They struggled a lot. And the Bears, I thought, had a pretty good offseason and the draft here. But clearly, I think you'd agree, a winnable game at home.
Well, it should be. But here's the thing. We can't take anything for granted for what we've seen over the last couple of years, right? But with that being said, when you look at Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears, he was surrounded by talent last year. Offensive on paper, just couldn't make it come to fruition, couldn't bring it together. This year might be different for him. Who knows? But they did pay attention to that offensive line. They are going to take some pressure off them running ball. And look, I think it's great that we're starting to see a resurgence in the NFL of running the football. I don't know what cloud came over the sun. Blocked the sun for when people start devaluing the running back position and not paying attention to their offensive line. But I think you see the product that has happened for a lot of the teams, including the Raiders, that paid attention to their offensive line, created their running game, and are working on it still. That's what the future is. That's what football is. We've seen it all along in the postseason. You've got a good running game. You've got success.
Lincoln, the Philadelphia game jumps out at me. This was the game I was wondering the most about when the schedule came out, because I thought a Sunday night game or some marquee game, Ashton Genty, Saquon Barkley, some storyline. We like storylines here. The Raiders having the ability to play anywhere with the history of the franchise. We don't get that on a Monday night game, but that's the really tough game. I mean, they're all tough, but to have to play in Philly in mid-December where it's going to be brutal. And fortunately, the Raiders only have one game like this, weather-related, on the entire schedule.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one going back to Philly. What I'm most concerned about is my Raider Nation fans that were like, I'm not going to Philadelphia. I've heard war stories about it.
I won't be there.
You know what that's about. So, the thing is that the Raiders have got a tough uphill schedule in the sense where you end with some good teams having to play Kansas City last to be announced. So they've got their work cut out for them. It's going to be interesting December.
Lincoln, coming up, we're going to have Jackson Powers Johnson join us, and the Raiders drafted a couple of offensive linemen decently high where they're going to make the team, and I know you wanted more depth there, and I just wonder your big picture on the O-line behind Ashton Genty. Raheem Mostert is a really good player. I mean, when is he going to get on the field if Ashton lives up to the hype? This is going to be a one or two-headed monster. Zamir White obviously has a lot to prove. How excited are you with the new look offensive line, the competition that will come about here heading into training camp?
Well, the good thing is I don't have to manage the backfield. I just have to pay attention to how they play. So I'm taking off the hook for that. But with this offensive line, when you mix young with veteran guys, and I know Jackson Powers is still a young guy, the thing is that you have to create continuity. You have to create consistency. So you can't foil around with the lineup as much. You don't really have a great opportunity in preseason. I don't know what Pete Carroll's philosophy is of preseason playing, but my thing is that a lot of times the starters don't play. So it's hard to get into that rhythm when you have new guys just standing in for a game or so. With that being said, early and often, this offensive line has got to find a way to come together. I'll be interested in watching, paying attention to training camp and everything that leads up to the preseason games and to see how they're developed. More importantly, to see what type of a strategy is developed for the run game, whether they do zone blocking, man blocking, those types of things. Double teams at the point. Do they run a lot of 12 personnel, which is 2 tight ends, when you have such great stars? There's only one ball. I remember when Rich Gannon told me that a long time ago. There's only one football. No matter your star power, you got to be able to navigate that, and that's going to be for Geno Smith. But for most being said, going back to your original question, this offensive line is key because everything offensive success wanes on them. Can they protect the passer when time to pass the ball? Can they open up holes when it's time to run the ball?
Lincoln, finally, what I'm most excited about is the running game, because I didn't think when I heard Chip Kelly, I thought of old Chip Kelly, spread everybody out, motion, conditioning, how they're going to go deep, and what they're going to do. No, the running game with Pete Carroll, from Marshawn Lynch to the success in Seattle, what Chip Kelly did last year in Ohio State with 2 1,000-yard backs. I went back and watched a couple of those games just to see how he's calling these games. It's amazing. They play faster, with more of a purpose, and they run it with authority. And I know that the Raiders running back room now was just flipped, but there's some good players at the top here. And I believe when I look at the schedule, how are the Raiders going to win against the Eagles? How could they win against, say, the Commanders? They're going to have to play with the lead, and then Ashton is going to have to run the game out, whereas A.J. Cole won't have to punt on 3rd and 6. Ashton on 2nd and 8 can take it 18 yards and stay in bounds. So the clock runs. You got a head coach going, well, there's 3:18 left. I got my timeouts, but I got to burn them now. I got to start burning the first one because Ashton picked up a first down. And then Bowers caught a 6-yard in route, and he got it to 9 yards. It's 2nd and 1. Mostert picks up an easy first down, and you got coaches calling timeouts because the 2-minute warning's coming up, and the Raiders can end these games by running the ball out instead of jeopardizing it by putting it in the air.
Look at your game time scenarios. Look at you. Look at narrating game time scenarios. You're the best at that, JT. Look, here's the thing. Since I first started watching Chip Kelly when he was at Oregon, one thing that I noticed about his offense is that he likes to spread people out, but he likes to use the full field because he believes in wearing down defenses. Didn't necessarily work for him in Philadelphia. And I think that's a little bit of a great coaching lesson for him. And he went back to college and sort of fine-tuned his craft. think he's a phenomenal coach. Don't get me wrong. But this guy, when he comes back to the NFL, I think you're going to see a little bit of that in the early days, is being able to spread people out, use sideline to sideline, use your variable weapons as he did at Oregon, but more importantly, get downhill and run the ball directly at the offensive line. At the line of scrimmage. And that really bodes well for me, because whether it's an extended run, trying to get outside, which the Raiders have struggled with in the past. I've told you this. We talked about this. The Raiders have had issues with blocking tight ends. And when you're not able to secure that edge, it's really hard to get those outside runs. So then you have coaches try to get creative with their tunnel screens or bubble screens, things like that, which I call like extended runs to the perimeter. With that being said, now you've got the ability, or hopefully you have the ability, to run downhill. And look, much to what you're talking about as far as scenarios go, I'm waiting to see the Raiders struggled in short yardage and goal line last year.
Yes.
I'm waiting to see improvement of that, because that determines and that dictates a lot of their game plans, in my opinion.
Lincoln, thanks for doing this. For those who are watching, not listening, that outfit, I was on the cruise with you. Did you pick that up in Cabo, Mazatlan? What is going on there? I love it.
Bro, you know me, sun's out, guns out. I'm here to stay. I'm not going anywhere.
That was not bought in the States. That looked like it was bought somewhere south of the border or somewhere, in Thailand.
Empire is here too, part of the Raider Nation. It's all good, brother.
Absolutely. I'll see you soon. Thanks for doing this.
You got it, man.
How good is Lincoln Kennedy? We get him on the schedule release. I think he's really optimistic. How could you not be? Look at the schedule. I don't see or hear any complaining about it. Go play the game. When we come back, Jackson Powers Johnson coming right from practice. This will be interesting. JPJ joins us on our schedule release show. Raiders Roundtable continues. Wow. All right. So we already taped Jackson Powers Johnson. So you're going to watch it. You're going to be able to hear it. Hour number 2 will be just a new show right at the top of the hour. So you're getting some brick raw here. Behind the scenes, we're doing a behind the scenes deal. This is all on Raiders.com and Raiders YouTube, but I wanted to open up our stream so you can see it here. So coming up next, you're going to see Jackson Powers Johnson. It was unbelievable. This young man came in studio, sat right next to me, and he just ripped it out of the park. So we'll let you see it. You'll be able to watch it, and then Levi Edwards is going to join us.
Basketball team. It's really cool to see, the different types of people they're bringing out here. F1, even though they tore up the freeway, not the freeway, the strip. They tore up the strip for that, but man, it's still cool though.
How much pride do you take in being able to say, I played for the Las Vegas Raiders where I grew up, I'm a Centennial High guy, and now I'm here?
Now, I take a lot of pride in it just because, I'm one of the guys from Vegas that didn't go to Gorman out of high school. I wasn't highly recruited coming out of high school. There wasn't really much buzz around my name. Just, he has potential, maybe. And so coming home, it's such a blessing, like being able to, just 30 minutes from my mom's house, go see my mom whenever I want to, or they come see me, because I take a lot of pride in being here, playing here for sure.
Man, that's all I got for you, man. It's been a really nice ride. I hope I drove pretty smooth, no bumps and booze, no bumps or anything like that. So, Jonah, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today, man. I wish you the best on the second season. I know you're going to kill it.
Appreciate you, man.
It's game day, the day we've been waiting for. And this is more than just a game. It's a passion, a lifestyle. Here at the Raider Image, you're part of our team. Whether you're in the stands or cheering from home, we've got your back. Feel the confidence, own the game. We are the Raider Image, Your game, your gear, exclusively at the Raider Image.
Las Vegas Raiders, this is JP Jackson Powers Johnson. Yeah, no, I can definitely help you out with that. Anything else? No? Just always remember, go Raiders.
Jackson, what was that?
Just working hard.
It's good, but let's have a closer look.
Yeah, let's have a closer look.
What you think?
Very.
Good, good. Yeah, looks good.
All right, welcome back. Our special edition of Raiders Roundtable, the schedule release. Jackson Powers Johnson, kind enough to join us after practice. I appreciate this.
No, thank you. And I don't look pretty, but y'all don't pay me look pretty, so just got off the practice field.
Awesome. I want to get into practice and your new teammates, but the video, the schedule release, take me behind the scenes. How'd they approach you, bring you into that? It was outstanding.
I can. They just came up to me and said, "Hey, like we need you to do this video," and I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll do it." And then we ended up doing the video, and there's a couple of takes, and you see me kind of eating an apple, and that was not scripted. There was just an apple on the table, so I started eating it, and I guess it was the person's desk who I was sitting at. I felt so bad, but it was such a good apple. But it was a fun thing.
I wanted to thank you for what you're doing for Raider fans because you seem to embrace the social media, the media, Silver and Black Productions, everything we're doing. Did you plan on doing that coming out of college, or was it just a better fit with the Raiders?
I don't know. I've been doing it forever. I mean, I like being on camera. You know, I like interacting with fans because they're the reason what makes football so fun. I mean, you go out there and you play with no fans, like it's a library. You know, the intro video was getting me fired up because you know the fans are so great, and to be able to interact with them, to be a part of fun things like the schedule release or like Billy McDuffie and all that kind of fun stuff. It's fun to do, and it's fun to give back.
Tell us about practice today, first off, and what's different this time with Pete Carroll, the new coaches, somewhat retained. How has it changed for you personally?
It's just so much fun. I think that's the biggest thing. I wake up excited to get in the building, excited to go practice. Just the vibes are high. Everybody's having so much fun. Everyone's flying around. Everyone's in better shape. I mean, it's a lot of fun. It's fast, and I think it's what pro football is. And I think everyone's getting a real taste of what this culture is going to be like. And if we keep doing what we're doing, not only we're going to win games, but we're going to have fun doing it.
How has your offseason conditioning changed from Oregon all the way to your rookie year and now?
I mean, so different. College, they own you. You know, you're there every single day. They say there's an offseason, but there's really not an offseason. This time over, I could take kind of personal responsibility for what I want to do, and I can really work on my body. And everybody in the building has been so great about, helping me personally on things I need to get better about. Nutrition, I've dropped almost 20 pounds. I've been working out with Max every day, like being able to work on the things that are going to make me better instead of being kind of in college where it's a full program for everybody.
Right.
This is just more personal care and, making me a better football player.
When you saw the additions to the offensive line, it seems like we're looking at players like you who are versatile, who can play multiple positions in case of an injury. Your position at center, what you were able to do before that. Tell us about the room now with these offensive linemen, undrafted free agent, all looking to compete under Pete Carroll.
I think everybody's all the rookies are having so much fun. They're doing great. I mean, it's been so fun to meet them. I had them over at my house, kind of giving the rundown of kind of what rookie year kind of looks like, kind of the little things I need to do, get certain snacks for people. And I think the vet's been doing such a great job. But Colton Miller's doing such an amazing job. Alex Kappa, Thayer Mumford, Jordan Meredith. All those guys are helping the rookies out so much. And it's kind of cool to be on the other side of this year, be able to kind of mentor the rookies a little bit, even though most of them are kind of older than me. But no, they've been great. And what they're going to add to this room is a lot of youth, a lot of, energy and fun. And they're awesome. I'm excited they're here.
I saw when you greeted Ashton for the first time. That was really cool because he's walking in, he's bombarded with media. Then he sees you in the locker room. Now that you've gotten to know him, you see his size, his strength, his cutting ability. Tell the fans what he's like.
Okay, so this is everything is true about what they're saying about this guy. I mean, he's just a ball of muscle. And when I dapped him up, gave him a hug, it was pure metal. His speed, his agility, how he likes to play. He plays fun. He likes to have fun. And I think that's going to make him so deadly. He loves to block. That's a lineman's dream. He's a great guy, and he's going to have such a great year, and I'm excited to block for him.
With Besh and Thornton on the outside as rookies too, I was talking to Fred Biletnikoff about it and others who played in this game forever. To have receivers who are big and can block downfield.
Yep.
So you open up a hole for Ashton. He hits that hole. He beats a linebacker. You got Brock and these receivers and obviously Jacoby who are really good at blocking. This could really open up the running game for massive gains.
No, for sure. I think the mentality is changing about running the ball here. Mm-hmm. And it's super exciting. And, I was just saying, Dante Thornton, I've known him since I was 16 years old. I recruited him to Oregon.
Wow. Didn't know that.
Yeah,
okay.
Recruited him to Oregon. We were in the same dorm freshman year, played 2 years, and then he ended up going to Tennessee, and I stayed up at Oregon. But him, all the other rookies, Betch, another one.
Tell me about him.
Dude, great guy. All these rookies that are being drafted, you can see a common denominator of not only are they elite football players, but they're elite humans. Wow. These guys are coming in with confidence, poise, and this excited to play ball. And sometimes, I've been in a rookie class and you get in there and, some people have confidence and some people are like, oh, I'm in the pros. These guys are like, okay, I'm eager to learn. I'm ready to learn. I'm ready to go. And you gotta give your props to, Mr. Spytek. Did an amazing job.
He did. Tell us about Gino and how great is this?
Oh, I love Gino.
Okay.
I love Gino. And I've been around a lot of great quarterbacks in my time. It makes me feel old, but I'm
back to Jackson Dart years.
Jackson Dart, Zach Wilson, Bo Nix, all those guys. But Gino's just an amazing leader. He is. How he talks to everybody, how he's around football, the knowledge of football. He's a little older, but he's got the same energy as a young gazelle, as I like to say. And he's been nothing but awesome, great, and just an amazing leader.
One more follow-up with him, his ability to play faster. I've been critical of the fact, run the play that you run in Henderson. You run it great. It's a great play. Just run it because you know it's going to work. But now you got Brock and Ashton and all these players. What do you think that Gino can do at the line of scrimmage to check out of a play? We're talking Chip Kelly here. Yep. So they're going to have the play dialed in. But say the coverage is different. You get the signal. You see it. What can Gino do differently to get you in a better play?
Well, he has so much experience. He's a step ahead. He's up. I like to say he has a coordinator's mind. He's getting them play, but he's looking over at the defense saying, okay, this might not be the best look. Okay, I might need to do this. And he's going to be able to look at those things and make adjustments. And the biggest thing, too, is, Coach Kelly is giving him the tools and opportunities for him to do that. Sometimes you don't see that. Sometimes you see a coordinator who's like, okay, you got this play and you can go to this play. Now, Coach Kelly's giving, all right, here's all these tools. Yeah. Whenever you need to use them, you use them. And it's going to be very exciting. You're already seeing it in practice where Gino's going, okay, I'm seeing this. Okay, I'm going to make this look. I'm going to make this look. And everybody's just like, okay, we know what's going on. Let's go.
And finally, Pete Carroll, what's changed differently with all the great players you played with in college and in the pros now? Just can you tell our fans what it's just different in the building, in the meeting room, in the lunchroom, puts the gloves on and he starts running drills? This is spectacular.
Yeah, so I got to compare him to my high school coach. My high school coach, he's not as old as Pete, but my high school coach was lifting with us every day at 6 a.m. He was throwing the ball with us. He was doing everything that we were doing. And that does so well with players. Because if you see a coach who is doing it with you, who is having just as much fun doing the actual football, not being a coach, but actually doing the football with you, and that's so gains so much respect. And what Pete's doing is just so fun. Like we're watching this now, and look at that form.
Yeah.
Like he's having just as much fun as we are.
So good.
And it's just so contagious. You got to have it at the top. You got to have someone who loves football and loves playing football. And it trickles all the way down. I mean, to our assistant coaches, to our trainers, to our strength staff, everybody is having fun and working really hard.
Interesting. We wanted to have you up here to talk about the schedule. I'll just leave you on rivalry games because they all mean something. You open up against Josh McDaniels. He's the offensive coordinator in New England. Vrabel's there. Then you get into this Charger game on Monday Night Football. And I started off, I was talking to you. I met your parents at the draft day luncheon, and they can get here quickly. When you looked at the schedule and you saw Monday Night Football Cowboys, Monday Night Football Chargers, and then the rivalry games, you're going to be in Philly, which isn't a natural rival, but they're the world champs. Kansas City early where the weather shouldn't be big. Give me your big picture on the schedule as a player on this team.
I mean, there's so many great games and so many great environments you get to go into. That's kind of the first thing I look at. I go, where do I get to go? Where do I get to travel?
Love that.
You know, and I think that's the thing I think about is, man, I am so grateful to have this opportunity to go into these such hostile environments. You know, it's going to be loud. It's going to be fun. I really hope it's cold and snowy. I'm a cold and snowy guy. I'm more of a polar bear. But I see this and I go, okay, there's so many great opponents. There's so many great opportunities to test our mettle. I think no team has just played all really bad teams and had a great year. All the great teams have had to play such great people to get to the position to where they can win a championship. And I think the schedule really sets us up well. And I think really is going to build us and test us.
When you come out of the tunnel on the road and you see Raider Nation, you've seen some big crowds already as a young player. We'll end with that. What is your message to this fan base who went through last year, are invigorated with this coaching staff, Gino, everything you talked about, and especially you? What are you excited about this fan base that leads you to believe that this is going to be a hell of a year?
I think the excitement, every Raider fan I run into, every Raider fan that talks to my parents, any of my family, the main thing is excitement. And I think we need to keep that up. The excitement you guys are going to bring, the excitement, the unwavering love for Raider Nation is amazing. And I feel like, you know, Vegas is a hard place to play in. It's a very destination place. So people will sell their tickets to other opposing fans, and sometimes a home game isn't a home game. I believe every home game is going to be a home game this year. I really do. I think people are excited. I think people are fired up. And us in the building see that and know that and recognize that. And we want you to keep your seats. You know, you're paying for season tickets. We want you to sit in there. We want you to sit in there. We want to give you guys a show because you're the reason why we play football.
Appreciate your time today.
Of course. Thank you.
Jackson Powers Johnson. How about that, Raider Nation, as we continue on our schedule release special here on Raiders Roundtable.
Cool. Got a little secondary YouTube stream going here. So I'll follow
We actually get teamed up with Drake May. Actually, has like a solid Drake May story.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
A hot Drake May take.
Well, it's not a take. It's like actually just like solid personal insight.
Okay.
He's unbelievable! I've run out of words. Harrison Genty is a stud.
You said it, ask and you shall receive. ISO right off the right side. He makes one guy miss in the hole and then uses the stutter step to freeze him and just puts everybody in their back hip and walks away from him.
Raider Nation, welcome into another episode of Microsoft Breakdown. We have a special edition. Number one pick for our Las Vegas Raiders, Ashton Genty, running back. We know the holes are not going to be this big on Sunday, but what I love about this is the explosiveness, the suddenness of him getting to top speed in about 2 or 3 yards. And that's what is critical as a running back. You need to make the decision, get through the hole, second level, and downhill. Look at him outrun a cornerback and a safety. There's no way you're going to catch our guy, Ashton Genty. What an incredible, explosive play. I haven't seen a guy get to his top speed in what few steps. And you can see right now, effortless flow, effortless stride, and look at the poor DB, Ashton Genty getting it done in the end zone. I love this next clip here. The thing that a running back has to be able to do to be successful is have his eyes and his body be able to get to the the right spot at the right time. He does a great job in this clip here. Eye manipulation, has the safety going one way, bam, he bounces off that tackle, and then great cutback ability, which you have to have at the next level. Be able to be sudden, stop, go quickly, and you love the celebration. The eyes, the spin, the balance that he has on contact. Finish in the end zone and give me a little bit of dance and celebration. You love that aspect of his game. Ashton Jeanty getting it done. That's it. This episode for Microsoft Breakdown. We'll see you next time.
All right, we got notes, we got stuff. We're on that camera probably, and you'll be on that one, I would assume.
Yeah.
It's game day, the day we've been waiting for. And this is more than just a game. It's a passion, a lifestyle. Here at the Raider
microphone is
Image,
in my face,
you're
isn't
part of our team. Whether you're in the stands or cheering from home, we've got your back. Feel
Sounds
the
good,
confidence, own the game.
We
are the Raider Image. Your game, your gear. Exclusively at the Raider Image.
I love it, man. Matter of fact, when I walked in the locker room, I thought I was going to start crying.
Yeah, I'm here.
It's fantastic. It's a beautiful stadium.
Yes.
All right, everyone. So the next stop on our tour will be our 3 Super Bowl trophies. The first 2 while we were in Oakland, and our third while we were the Los Angeles Raiders.
Of the 3 teams that played in Los Angeles, how many have won a Super Bowl?
2 have. 1, not so much. Who wants to see the team room?
Hey, where's the flags?
Grab one there. You can grab one over there and get a penalty flag over here. Let me see. How about here? There we go. There's one here. And how about here? There's one here. Good reaction. Good reaction.
Head to Raiders.com today to see the Raiders' full schedule, game-by-game breakdowns, and top storylines for the 2025 season, as Levi Edwards has a lot to do with that, and he is kind enough to join us on Roundtable as we continue on. We got a lot of games to get to, Levi, but you wanted to comment first on this early stretch and something you saw.
Most definitely. So Paul Gutierrez, our new columnist, now that we welcome to Raiders.com, he actually had a hot take in the story that he just published today, and it was that he believes that the Raiders could have a winning record going into the bye week when you look at the schedule. And I really do think that that's extremely feasible. You know, a little bit of a hot take, but, you know, it's provocative. It gets the people going. You know, you have Bears who struggled last year. You have the Colts who struggled last year, Titans. You know, these are teams that are still trying to, get over the hump. Obviously, you played the Chargers. We historically play the Chargers very well at Allegiant Stadium, and that's week 2, Monday Night Football. And then you also play Kansas City very well at Arrowhead. The last 3 years, we've been able to play them very close with one-possession games, even got a win on Christmas Day. Everybody remembers that. So really, when you look at those first 7 games, you feel very optimistic looking at that schedule. And then coming out of the bye, you have Jacksonville Jaguars, another team that the Raiders beat last year. So really 5-3, maybe 4-4, it seems very feasible when you look at it.
I think it's really important that you mention that, because if the Raiders want to win 9-10 games, be playoff eligible, you better believe they have to win those games. The first stretch of the season, as we look at this, if you're watching, if you're listening, we'll tell you, at New England, Chargers at home, at Washington, Bears, at Colts, Tennessee, and Kansas City, and Levi just added on after the bye week, Jacksonville. Raiders have to have a winning record there, because the rest of the season gets a little bit more difficult the second half of the year. And we'll begin with the Eagles. That's the toughest matchup. They're the Super Bowl champs. That's a cold weather game played on the road.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. This is probably going to be the most difficult game that you look on the schedule. Obviously, injuries are going to play a factor really late into the season. Still kind of, you don't know who's going to play in that game and who's not. But when you look at it on paper, it's the hardest game. It's going to be the cold weather game. Obviously, you have a game earlier in Denver in November. That's a little chilly. But this is going to be guys, shoveling snow out their driveway to go to the game to go see the Eagles play. And it's an unruly territory. It's a great team. You have Saquon Barkley. You have Jalen Hurts, the defending Super Bowl champions. They don't really have a weakness. What you can bank on is the fact that Pete Carroll is 7-1 against the Eagles throughout his career, which is very interesting. In a lot of those games where I bet against, Andy Reid and some other guys. So I think that that's a really interesting fact. And also the last time the Eagles played the Raiders in 2021 in Allegiant Stadium, Max Crosby had a great game, and that defense looked really good, and they came out on top. And so, it's any given Sunday, but definitely will be a hard game.
I'm excited about the Cowboys just because of being a Vegas resident, a season ticket holder. That's the game. Last year, we're talking about a 7-10 Cowboy team, not too far away from the Raiders in their struggles, but they end up getting Pickens. They have CeeDee Lamb. Dak is completely healthy. He's a $60 million player. For what it's worth. And the offensive line is normally pretty tough, even though a couple of their legendary players are on the back end or retiring. Tell me about that game and what it's going to mean to the city of Las Vegas. And the fact that it's on Monday night, we know Cowboy fans will be here for the long weekend, and Raider Nation really needs to step up.
Well, it's going to be a money game. You have two historic franchises, two teams that, you could say both America's team. Yeah. Everybody loves the Cowboys. Everybody loves the Raiders. Last time these two teams faced on Thanksgiving Day a few years ago, almost 39 million people tuned in on CBS. So obviously you have to put a game like this on Monday Night Football for everybody to see. When you look at the roster, the Cowboys, they aren't a bad team. They had a 7-10 record last year, but it's really because they had a lot of injuries and they had a lot of flux within the locker room. But you get a lot of those key pieces back. You have a really good draft. I really like what they did with Tyler Booker. You really fortifying the front, especially considering that they had a, Hall of Fame guard, Zach Martin, retired this offseason. You have to get that in the locker room. So that's going to be a tough game for the Raiders defensive line. And then on top of that, their head coach, Brian Schottenheimer, he's a guy that's very familiar with Pete Carroll. That was Pete Carroll's offensive coordinator for 3 seasons in Seattle. So they're very familiar with each other. And he's going to bring a very fresh scheme. He's going to know kind of how to go at Pete Carroll, but also Pete Carroll knows him. So it's going to be a chess match for sure.
No one wanted to beat the Raiders more than Marty Schottenheimer. Nobody.
Really?
Nobody. Marty Schottenheimer wanted to beat the Raiders in San Diego back in the day and with Kansas City, and we know the connection there. I want to go to Cam Ward and what you expect from the Titans. You want to take a rookie quarterback who's going to play. A lot of other rookie quarterbacks like Jackson Dart, they'll sit behind Russell Wilson, but we're expecting him to play and work out the kinks early on in the schedule. Raiders got to get that one at home.
Oh, for sure. And really, when you look at the Tennessee Titans, they're a team that they had a lot of weaknesses in a lot of places, and you kind of wondered what they were going to do with that number 1 pick. But, for anyone that's seen Raider games over the last few seasons, you know that the quarterback position is very important, and having a franchise guy that you can put there is going to set you up a long way if you have it. So they had to go and get Cam Ward, and I really love his story. He's a guy that had to really get out the mud, as the kids say. He had no scholarship offers except to Incarnate Ward in San Antonio, back in Texas where he's from. He rose the ranks and then led the nation in touchdowns by the time he was a senior at Miami to go number 1. So this is a 0-star guy that is your number 1 pick. And that's just a very impressive story just in general, just his motor and how determined he is to be great at the next level. And he's going to be a Rookie of the Year front runner with Ashton Jeanty. So you're going to have 2 premier guys that could be the future of this league going up against each other. But still, when you look at the Tennessee Titans and the weaknesses that they have, they're still trying to address a lot of things. And that's just a game that you have to have at home.
Travis Hunter is with Jacksonville. They're on the Raiders schedule. If you're watching on a YouTube or Raiders.com, for our radio audience, that is week 9. Travis Hunter goes there. I'll tell you, being at the Raider draft party when I was backstage with Geno and they moved up to number 2, I said, you got to be kidding me. This is not a quarterback. They went up to get Travis Hunter. He will be featured in Las Vegas. He will be all over the field. I expect him to play both ways, especially still at week 9. What are the Raiders got to be concerned about in that home game?
Well, the thing is that there's a lot to be concerned about, just in the sense that I think the offense is going to be a lot better than what we saw last year. They now brought Liam Cohen to Duval. And so now I think that that's going to be a really big game factor, in the sense that last year when he was with the Bucs, he had a really great offense with the Bucs. He really got Baker Mayfield at a level we had never seen him play before. And we went to Tampa, and, I'm not going to lie, we got spanked. That's what happened when we went to Tampa Bay with the offense that he had put around that team. And so now he comes to a team where he has Trevor Lawrence, who we're still trying to figure out how good can this guy be.
Sure.
Is he your franchise guy? We're going to find out, because he went out and they got Travis Hunter, who's going to be a very good receiver. They have Brian Thomas.
He's good.
They have a couple of really good backs with Bigsby and Etienne. So they're a pretty solid team. They had a bad season, but they have a lot of pieces in place to really get going. And Travis Hunter, two-way star. And I know that Ashton Jennings probably going to want to get his get back for the Heisman Trophy. So, this is a guy that was 30 yards away from breaking the all-time rushing record, and he still lost the Heisman because Travis Hunter was just that damn good. So, he's probably going to want to get a little clap back in Jacksonville.
With about a minute to go, give me one big thing that Raider Nation should be celebrating with this schedule that you just like about it. You're optimistic that this is the Pete Carroll, John Spytek turnaround.
Well, I just really like that. Obviously, the roster that we have in place is loaded with competition, and you have a lot of really winnable games at the beginning. But we're really going to find out really the callous of this team towards the last stretch of the season. That's a really tough December. But what I really do love is the fact that you only have one game where weather is a deciding factor. If you look at the stats, Geno Smith as a quarterback, he plays a lot better in warm climates, and he plays a lot better in closed dome arenas, and he's going to play in a lot of those this year. 9 home games. Cold weather not really going to be a factor until you get to Philly. So I really like that on the schedule. You're really going to see him maximize on that, I feel. You're going to see the team maximize on that. So as long as you get a good home field advantage, I think it'll be solid.
Thank you for coming in, Levi.
I appreciate it, JT.
That's Levi Edwards. All of his content is up at Raiders.com. So this was fantastic. Hope you enjoyed this edition of the show. I am switching back to radio and my YouTube channel, JT the Brick YT. So go from Raiders, go right to my YouTube. Keep it here on all Raiders social media platforms. Want to thank everybody here behind the scenes. These are the shows you love, and you get a chance to celebrate a schedule. And this is the Raiders turnaround with Pete Carroll, John Spytek, and the rest of this roster. A lot to be optimistic about. Thank you, my friend. I will talk to you. Hope to see you again soon.
Thank you.
I will be listening next week. Those 2 days.
Yeah, next week.
Okay. And I will get that schedule, I'm assuming, pretty soon. If it hasn't been sent out, is it early? What are you projecting, or is it later?
I know we have one on the 21st. I think it's going to be not early, kind of around 10 to 11. So a little bit of time to chill.
A little bit of time to chill, huh?
Actually come in the building and not just go straight to practice.
Yeah, I hear you. All right, man. Be good. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, man. I appreciate
See
it.
you, as always. All right, we are going to do radio only and YouTube. 1 second. Bobby, you got me? Okay. I'm going to go off on Golden Knight. Yep, I'm going to go give you the game-winning goal for Edmonton. And that's it. That should get me through. It should be pretty good the rest of the way. We got nothing lined up, so we'll see. Okay. All right, bricklayers, good day to call in. You're in the building. You're in the building, so take advantage of it. All right, let me welcome in everybody. Yes, yes, yes. I can hear you. How we doing? Everybody love the schedule? Schedule comments will be read. Nice job, everyone. Nothing like a little round table to mix it up, man. Let's go. Get some round tables on the box. Let's go. Everything was great. Yeah, thanks. And out of the gate, hour number 2 on Raider Nation Radio, and we are live in Raiders headquarters, and you can watch it live on our YouTube channel, JT the Brick YT. That's free. The live stream, you can see this glorious studio, the best in all of the NFL when it comes to a podcast radio studio. All you have to do is subscribe for free, and you get in. Hour number 1 was a special edition of Raiders Roundtable that's streamed on the Raiders platforms at Raiders.com and on their YouTube. We had Jackson Powers Johnson in studio. He was great, along with Levi Edwards and Lincoln Kennedy. I left the phone lines open for the next 2 days just on the schedule. And I'm going to bring you along, and you're going to participate. This is class participation, baby. We're in the building. They're watching and they're listening in the building. Number 2, the schedule came out. I need to know what you think. I haven't talked to you much about that. So right now, phone lines are open to be in the building. 702-365-9200. We're brought to you by Golden Entertainment. They own the Strat. They fuel the monologue, and they have over 70 taverns here. They're proud partners with the Vegas Golden Knights. I am gutted that the Golden Knights lost. I am gutted. I didn't predict it because I want this team to win. We've lost a month of hockey. We've lost all of May and all of June. We had a month left of barbecues, hockey, get in the pool, go to the game, go to Beer House, walk over to Park MGM, celebrate with your buddies and friends, and we're done. That's what happens. When it ends violently. I don't have the number in front of me. How many times has a team lost at home to be eliminated from a series and shut out and lose in overtime? I don't know. I'm sure it's happened before. It hasn't happened much. And that happened in Vegas. If you're a season ticket holder for the Vegas Golden Knights, if you were at that overtime loss like I was, and you watched this overtime loss, I wasn't at the game last night, you were brought down to the depths of losing and how brutal that could be. So again, I'm here to do Raiders schedule release because I want to do that. But I am telling you that I am so disappointed that our Vegas Golden Knights, our team in Vegas, went out the way they went out. So many players on this team were an absolute no-show. They were an absolute no-show. Bill Foley, the owner, went out and got goal scorers, and he paid them, and they were nowhere to be found. As a backup goaltender, got hot for over 120 minutes and shut out Vegas the way they did. Gut punch of a loss, devastating loss. We're a sports town. We're a major market. We are the sports and entertainment capital of the world, and our hockey team is done. And when it ends in this town, We're not Toronto, man. We're not Boston. We're not Detroit. We're Vegas when it comes to hockey. When it shuts down hard. So if any fans want to hit on that and talk about it, you can get in today and tomorrow, 702-365-9200. But the schedule is out, and I have it right here. And we went over it for an hour, and I went over it last night, and I want to give you some of my opinions on this as we get going. And I want to know from you simply, big picture, what do you think of the schedule? Okay, what do you think? What's your mind tell you? You're Raider Nation. You are Raider Nation. What do you think is going on here? What do you think's happening here? And tell me what you think. Number one. Number two, which game are you going to on the road? What's the game that you're going to on the road? And I want to know. And I want to know that right now. You got to pick one game. If you can go and you can figure it out, what game is that going to be? I need to know that. And then what home game are you excited most about? What home game are you looking at the most saying, I have to be at that home game. I am not going to sell my tickets. I am not going to go to that game. I am definitely going to be there in full attendance. And I want to know what game that's going to be and, tailgating, all of that stuff that comes about with that. So pretty simple show. Raider Nation, as I've always said, sound off like you got a pair. You got an hour inside the headquarters of the Raiders. Take advantage of the format. Go in the chat here on YouTube and tell me what you think. And we'll find out because I'm going to go first. All right. And this is what I think as we look at NFL schedule release, the NFL and the Raiders schedule release for 2025, brought to you by Modelo, the number one beer in America, the fighting spirit of Modelo. I'm going to take it game at a time. September 7th at New England. Wow. Josh McDaniels, period. Forget about Mike Vrabel. We know Mike Vrabel. Josh McDaniels calling the offense, not the head coach, getting paid a significant amount of money, still by Mark Davis to be the head coach of the Raiders, got let go. He was in this studio with me for a year and a half. He did great things with me. I don't hate the guy. You might. I don't hate people that I work with, but I want to beat them. You want to beat them. We all know that. New England was a worse off team than the Raiders last year, and the Raiders lost 10 in a row. That is a game. That is a game the Raiders have to win. I'm not worried about that game. If it was, I think it would have been great if the Raiders had a home opener against an inferior team like the Titans or a team such as Jacksonville. That would be nice to get a game like that to open up the season. They're putting the Raiders on the road week one. Okay, got no complaints with that. Go beat them. The home opener is September 15th, Monday night against the Chargers. I predicted 2 Monday night football games, and I got that right. So I predicted 2, and we got 2. That's the home opener. Now, the good news is we play the Chargers better at home than when we play them on the road. We're 1-6 lifetime at SoFi Stadium, which stinks, which is terrible. Okay, SoFi Stadium should be a home game for the Raiders. The Raiders are 1-6 at SoFi since 2020. Las Vegas is 3-2 against the Chargers at home. So that's where we stand on that. I like that. No doubt about it. We should be able to look at this and say, all right, the Raiders are going to win that game. I think so. What am I doing sitting here if I don't think the Raiders can beat the Chargers at home, Monday Night Football home opener? Matter of fact, I love this game. I love a national game. Give me more, and we open up the season. At the Commanders, more and more people told me in the last 24 hours that this is the game they want to go to. This is the game that most Raider fans want to travel to and go to because the weather will be gorgeous. If it's not raining, September 21st is perfect to go to the nation's capital. They play in a dump. The stadium's a dump. They're going to get a new stadium that's going to be looking out at the Capitol and the National Mall, but that's years away. At the Colts, October 5th is a game the Raiders have to win, period. Depending on what they want to do at quarterback, the Raiders got to find a way to win that game. And then the game that is a must-win, I kind of said that about Carolina last year. Remember when the Red Rifle, Andy Dalton came into Allegiant Stadium and beat the Raiders, how brutal that was? Well, the Titans can't do that. If you're looking at a game on the schedule that the Raiders have to win in regards to strength of schedule, it's that one. And then at Kansas City before the bye week on October 19th, I love that game for a number of reasons. Number one, Kansas City's schedule is very difficult before this game. They're the 1 seed, so it should be. Number 2, the Raiders have the bye week right after that. The Raiders have the bye week right after that. So after the bye week, they're going to be able to jump in and have a really good opportunity to come in there and make a statement. They can beat Kansas City. We've seen that. They can play Kansas City as tough as any team in football. They have. I'm not making that up. I'm not saying they're better than Kansas City, but they can win that game, and then they get rewarded with a bye week. So I love where Kansas City is on the schedule because you have the carrot and the reward of the bye week right there. And if they beat the Titans and they beat them big, how about if they beat the Bears? I can get to the Bears on the 28th. They beat the Bears, the Colts, the Titans. Say you got a 2 or 3 game winning streak going into Kansas City. Everybody's healthy. You got to feel pretty good about that. So I love that. After the bye week, Jacksonville at home, got to win that game. Then the short week, they play November 2nd at home against Jacksonville in that same week on Thursday. That's a Thursday night game at Denver. Shouldn't be a cold weather game November 6th. I mean, it could snow. I doubt it. You want to play Denver in December. And then the biggest game of the year, bar none. I'm not saying the most important game. The biggest game of the year, bar none, is the Dallas Cowboys coming in for the first time ever, not in the preseason, regular season. Monday Night Football, November 17th. Cowboys were 7-10 last year. They're right kind of in the same boat as the Raiders. We'll see who wins that game, but the place is going to be a madhouse. If you're doing a tailgate, if you're getting there, get there early. That's going to be a 3-day weekend. There are going to be Cowboy fans from Circa all the way to South Point, drinking and partying and wearing their star on the side of their hat, coming to Vegas like this is New Year's Eve. So Raider fans, do what you want to do in regards to your tickets, but that's the game that everybody wants your tickets. Act accordingly. November 23rd, the Browns at home, got to win. Oh, I wanted to share this with you. I said this in the first hour, that when you play a last place schedule, which the Raiders are playing a last place schedule, since the league went from 16 regular season games to 17, the 17th game, the extra game, a last place team like the Raiders plays another last place team. So an NFL executive told me on my drive into the building today, that's a reward for the Raiders. They don't want to have a bad season ever again. Pete Carroll's not going to be a 4-win coach. But the advantage for Pete Carroll is he's taken over a last place schedule. The added game is against the last place team. So you could look at that last place team as either the Titans. You start looking at the last place teams, Cleveland on the schedule. That's a game Raiders got to win. At Chargers, November 30th, no opinion on that. Regular Sunday game on CBS. Broncos at home, December 7th. Now this becomes interesting. Lincoln Kennedy brought up maybe we'll see a sophomore slump, maybe, with Bo Nix. But the month of December is going to be pretty tough. Denver Broncos at home, a Philadelphia Eagles on the road. That will be a ruthless environment. Brutal. Any way you look at it, brutal. It should be snow. It should be chaos. If you want to go, you will not find me anywhere near Philadelphia. The last thing I'm going to do is give Philadelphia a penny of mine, $1 of mine. I will not be there. You live there and you're going there and you're a Raider fan. Have a great time. Be safe. You won't find me there. At the Texans on the 21st, that's interesting because that's going to be a warm weather game because if it's raining or anything, they close it. And it should be perfect environment for the Raiders. And they end up at home against the Giants. That's to be determined at the end of the month. And then the Chiefs game, that'll be either on January 3rd or 4th. Very interesting game. It's either going to mean everything or mean nothing. I'm assuming the Chiefs are going to be either in the playoffs or in the wild card because I've watched how good they are. If the Raiders are in the hunt, man, that game means a lot. It could be an elimination game for the Raiders. If the Raiders are not in the hunt, then Kansas City, I don't even know if they'll play their starters if they're already in. So I don't like where that game is on the schedule, but they are the AFC champs. They usually are. So that's it. So that's where we stand, everybody, on all these games. I have no complaints. Really don't. I have no complaints at all. And, man, I know how to complain. I normally think we're getting robbed. We're getting ripped off. The league's against us against the world and Raider Nation. How are they going to screw us this year? What'd they do to us last year? Opening up with 2 on the road. No Monday night game until Atlanta at the end of the year. We didn't get a Sunday game because we don't deserve it. Sunday Night Football is the number one slot for football. We don't deserve it. We lost 10 in a row, a 4-win team, but I'm happy we got 2 Monday night games. That was very important to me. And if you're a season ticket holder, that should be important to you. You got 2 big Monday night games, and I feel great about that. Let's get out to Jesse in Alameda as we kick this off. Jesse, how are you? Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. Thanks for the compliment.
The schedule, I like it. I don't like it early. I don't like that we have 2 East Coast games sandwiched in between a home game.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's kind of rough because we historically haven't done well in East Coast games to have that almost that have to start off in the Roadville home and then go back to the East Coast kind of worries me a little bit.
Mm-hmm. You got to talk up a little bit louder, man. Your phone's cutting out. Talk up a little bit louder. Go ahead.
Okay, the home game, the road game that I'm looking forward to going to this year is going to be Los Angeles.
Okay.
The Chargers. And then home game, Dallas, because I've never seen a Cowboys game. Not even when they were in Oakland. I never went to any of those games. But yeah, I'm excited for this season. Don't really know where my expectations are yet, but I'm excited.
Okay, thanks for the call. Appreciate your excitement. Appreciate that as we open it up. And I'm really excited about the schedule because someone told me in the building, how could you complain about anything? The bye week's perfect. Bye week's where it's supposed to be. You got an opportunity to open up the season and win a bunch of games. But there's no problem here. You can open up the game and go win a bunch of games. I think 4-3 at the bye week is realistic. 5-2, I see some people making predictions. Okay, whatever. I'm not here to predict. I do not predict games. I'm just telling you the games you better win. I don't predict games. I'm not going to sit here and say Raiders going to win 10, 11 games or 4 games. I don't do that. But I will tell you that the schedule is very manageable. Very manageable. There's a lot of winnable games here, but you got to win them. And with Pete Carroll, I think this is going to be a different team. I think they're going to have a different type of swagger. They had a good swagger with Antonio Pierce in the past. This is a different opportunity for Competition Pete to turn this around. Opens up a line for you. We should have no open lines. We're live from Raiders headquarters, streaming on YouTube and Raider Nation Radio, 702-365-9200. Here's Tim in Sacramento, California. Hello, Tim.
Hello, JT.
Go ahead, Tim. You're on the air. What do you got?
Good segue from Antonio Pierce. I noticed the Giants are at the end of the season schedule. Now, in the 2007 season, where the Giants went on to win, they faced the undefeated Patriots towards the end of the regular season, and they put up a good fight. They lost by 3 points in a back and forth. It was 38-35. And so the Raiders must keep the momentum going all the way through, and they can win the ship just as well.
Well, I mean, again, I don't know what their record's going to be, and I don't know what's going to happen at the end there, but I don't think the Raiders are going to be running away from the division. Thanks for the call. On their way to a Super Bowl run, but I'd like to see that happen. I'd be the first guy cheering if it happened. The Giant game is so far off in the distance. The Giants have the toughest schedule in football. So my dad's visiting out here, and my mom, and my dad grew up a lifetime Giant fan. And then my dad said to me, because schedule release was really big around my house last night. My sons were over. We're sitting around and we're having dinner, and my dad looks at my son and says, "You guys are playing the NFC East?" And my son says, "Yeah." He goes, "Wow." He goes, "That's Philadelphia and the Commanders." And then my dad paused and he goes, "And you play Kansas City twice?" My dad's sharp. He knows. As much as the schedule is manageable, it's not easy. It's not easy at all. I mean, there's some work to be done here. But when you have a schedule that has the Giants, the Broncos twice, Cleveland, Tennessee, the Colts, the Bears, and New England, what are you crying about? What are you worried about? If you don't want to beat these teams and you don't think you can beat teams that drafted ahead of you as someone told me. You better beat the teams that drafted ahead of you if you're Raider Nation. You got to feel pretty good about this. So for me as a radio host, I like drama, right? But I don't like drama when it affects my teams. When it affects other teams, I like drama. That team's going through chaos. This team's a mess. Look at this. When it comes to my teams, I don't want any drama. I want it easy. I want to play the easiest opponents all the time. I want the easiest road to the NBA Finals, the World Series. I don't want to play anybody because no one remembers who you played. They just remember if you got a ring. Okay, you got a ring. So for the Raiders, they're playing a last place schedule, which they have to take advantage of. They have really no cold weather games on the schedule at all, other than the Eagles December 14th. They got a great running back who they took, number 6 overall in the draft, Ashton Jeanty, who can change the leg like that. He can flip this team quickly. We got Brock Bowers, Geno Smith. We got a pretty good team. I mean, the roster's okay, and I don't think they're done yet. I want to hear what you think about this schedule. 702-365-9200. Thor in Summerlin. Thor, I remember when we had a cigar on the cruise, you were excited about the Washington Commanders game, and I think you hit a home run because you get it in September where it won't be snowing and raining and sleeting in the nation's capital. What do you think?
What's happening, JT? I was excited about maybe going to that game, but right now I looked at the schedule. I love the schedule. I'm very excited about this schedule. Normally we're all upset at how they did us dirty, and you know what? We actually got a little bit of a break here. I mean, they could have made it worse on us, right? They threw that New England game, which I'm definitely going to the first week of the year. So it's not going to be cold out there in New England. We don't got to worry about a Vinatieri kicking the snow off of whatever. But I digress. So anyway, I'm excited to go to that New England game, and then we're coming back here for a Monday night home opener. I'm not going to be able to make it back to that Washington game right there, though. But I'll definitely be at the Houston game. I know that's a little bit before Christmas. But it's going to be a great time out there with the Black Hole. I can't wait. I really can't. I honestly, I don't know what other away games I may or may not be able to hit. But I'm excited. I like the bye week kind of in the middle. I think around week 8 maybe.
Yep.
Like that. I like the fact that we don't have, I feel like we have our last 2 games are at home, right? So I'm assuming we're going to be in the playoff race. I'm not saying we're a Super Bowl. We're going to win 13 games and win the division, but I feel like we're 9, 10, maybe 11. Who knows how the ball bounces. But if that's the case, the last couple games are going to mean everything for us, and they're at home. And you can't ask for anything better than that. Obviously, we get the extra home game this year, and since we start on the road, it probably should have been that way. But we don't have a bunch of these back-to-back road games and the cold weather games like you had mentioned. We don't have that. I love the schedule. I really feel that's going to help us to our around 9-10, hopefully more win season. Let's go, Raider Nation. And whatever you can get to and represent. Baby, Raider Nation, you know how we do it, baby. Show up and show out.
Thanks, Thor. I appreciate it. I think Thor, a member of the Black Hole and the Raider Nation Drinking Club, understands it. I mean, just enjoy this. Really, you got Pete Carroll. You got John Spytek, who everybody thinks had a great draft, not a good draft. You got Tom Brady in the building. There's a lot. I'm here in the building today. There's a lot going on. This is good. But I could understand how you could doubt it. Every year I come into this building and I sit here in May or June and I tell you everything's okay. Because normally everything is okay. The team got better players and they got better after the season ended. There's been a lot of mediocrity around here, a lot of losing seasons. So you go through free agency in the draft, you bring in a bunch of new players and everybody says, man, we look better. Yeah, we do. I'll say that every year. We look better. Even when Jack Del Rio went 12-4, I predicted the Raiders would go to the Super Bowl. Won't do that again. I did the following year, went in the tank, had a bad year. You don't know when you're going to win or lose. It's tough to win in this league. But as of today, as I sit here May 15th, 2025, there is strong optimism in the Raider Nation. There is a belief in the Raider Nation, not from someone like me who always bangs the drum and wants to be positive in the offseason, to looking at this situation saying, I'm good. Geno Smith is a big upgrade from Jimmy Garoppolo and Gardner Minshew. Ashton Jeanty is the best back we've drafted in decades, including Josh Jacobs. Josh was a hell of a player here. He was not Ashton Jeanty. He was not Ashton Jeanty. So I'm pretty big on that. Brock Bowers had the greatest season, individual season, and it didn't lead to any playoff wins, so I'm not comparing him to Dave Casper and Todd Christensen, but you know where I'm going there. I think the offensive line is clearly improved. Malcolm Kuntz is back healthy. Christian Wilkins, from all accounts, is ready to go. Mad Max came through rehab. He's looking great. Can the Raiders get another linebacker? Yeah. Could the Raiders get another corner? Absolutely. But Competition Pete will find the corner in-house. There are players in this building who are going to be here through OTAs who are trying to make the team and make the team in training camp that are going to get coaching like they've never had in their life, ever, because of Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll will take these young men aside who probably aren't going to make the team or might not, right? They're undrafted free agent. They're here. Maybe their goal is to make the practice squad. Pete Carroll will have them running through concrete to make this team. And multiple players who are not penciled in to start, multiple, will start on this team. That's another prediction I hope I get right. So I'm optimistic about that because it's different. It's unique. And I'm excited about that. Let's get some Raider fans on the radio, okay? Again, I'm one of the last of the solo hosts. There should be a statue of me out in the desert that everybody drives by. What's that statue? Oh, that's JT the Brick, the last guy on the planet that can do a radio show with nobody else. That's what I do. I'm a solo guy. Han Solo, man. He had Luke. I got nothing other than Bobby pressing buttons and playing music and putting the show together. Let's wake up Raider Nation on schedule release. Eddie Pascal did a great job on the podcast, and he broke it down when it came out. They wanted me in the building today to fire you up. I want to know, what's the biggest game for you? Could be a game I'm not aware of. Let me go first. What's the biggest game for me? The Cowboy game. That's the biggest game for me. Period. Well, JT, that's not the division. It's not Kansas City. It's a game. You get the same amount of W's if you beat them or Kansas City. It's a win. It's a bigger game because the Cowboys are a bigger brand. And the Cowboys did not need Taylor Swift to build their brand. The Kansas City Chiefs added on millions, not hundreds of thousands, which is a lot. They've added millions of fans because a pop star dated a tight end. We don't have that around here. We don't. Okay, and I'm good with it. I like the fact that we don't have that. So for everybody who's got Kansas City derangement syndrome, we play Kansas City. And if we split with them, great. But I'd rather go out there and beat the Bears, the Colts, and the Titans 3 in a row because those games count just as much. For those who say, division games. Yeah, division games matter in division seedings and all that. All the games balance out the same. Go win them. And the Raiders have many games here that they can win. I have no complaints on the schedule. I mean, do you remember me last year? Oh, my God. My wife was like, get out of the house, man. You need to go have a Modelo. Go somewhere. You're crazy. I said, yeah, I'm crazy because they screwed us. Why? Because they didn't give us any primetime games last year. We're the Las Vegas Raiders. I know we won 4 games, but you know why they gave us 2 primetime home Monday night games? Pete Carroll. Pete versus Jim Harbaugh, and the Jones family versus the Davis family, and the legacy's tied there. So I'm pretty optimistic about it. They could have thrown us 1 game. I went through the list today, and a lot of people don't look at that Thursday night game as a primetime game. I don't. Everybody gets a Thursday game, so I don't count that. But break down the primetime games. The Raiders have 2. Here are the teams that have none. That would be Cleveland, New Orleans, and the Titans. They don't have 1 primetime game. The teams with 1 primetime game are the Panthers, the Jets, the Colts, and the Jags. You get what I'm talking about? The Raiders have 2. They're near the bottom, but their 2 games are pretty big. They're at home. Kansas City's got 7 primetime games. The Chiefs have 6. Dallas has 6. Dallas was 7-10. How come they have 6 primetime games? Oh, nothing. They're the Cowboys. Buffalo's got 5 primetime games, the Niners and the Packers and the Lions. So do the Falcons. How did the Falcons get 5 primetime games? You know the Vikings are going to play 2 games back-to-back overseas? That's not good. They collapsed last year in the playoffs. They can't be thrilled about that. The LA Rams have 4 primetime games. And the New York Giants have 3. How do the Giants have more primetime games than the Raiders? Easy. They're in the number 1 media market. That's how they got that. All right, the monologue in the first chapter of this show brought to you by Tito's Handmade Vodka, my go-to vodka. Go grab yourself a Tito's this weekend and celebrate the Raiders' schedule release. Nice job by the Raiders and Silver and Black Productions with their hype video. What'd you think of that? I'd like to get a comment from the fans on what the Raiders put out on social media. 702-365-9200. When we come back, we'll get into more of your phone calls and your tweets. If you want to get in the chat here on YouTube, you can get in the chat there on our channel and give us your opinion. Everybody seems to be good. No drama today, the way I like it. No one blanking and moaning about the schedule. No one feeling sorry for themselves. Everybody understanding it's time to win and turn this franchise around. All right, I'll get ready for the Golden Knights. I'll throw to the goal.
Okay, I'll play the Hill Sabres of rejoin.
Yeah. Thanks. Appreciate that. Thanks.
More stuff on the schedule. They don't have a roster yet just because they're still kind of filling out, but I'll get you that.
Okay.
Can I email you that too?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You didn't think anybody could stabilize it. And whether you think he did a good job or right job, he did the job for the Silver and Black.
The Morning Tailgate, weekdays at 7 a.m. on Raider Nation Radio, 920 a.m.
Hey, it's JT here to tell you about the best pizza in Las Vegas, Grimaldi's. How we doing, everybody? Who are those guys that I banned? I saw Free Palestine there. I saw someone talking about someone talking about someone taking a shower. I had to put a couple of babies in timeout. We all good here? Everybody else good? Everybody acting their age, right? Yeah, VGK, Snow Raider, we're gone. All right. Yeah, JPJ was pretty good if you saw that. Let me get a water here. You can't wait for Indy. Big D, is that the game? Why Indy? Right. Drink the water, not the Kool-Aid. Well, I'm a Kool-Aid drinker. I don't apologize for it. I get paid to want the team to do well. I don't get paid. And I call it out as hard as anybody. When the team's not playing well, listen to the post-game show and tell me what you think. What do we got here on X? Let me check out my Twitter feed. Yeah. All right. I got a lot of Dodger fans pissed off that I'm reminding them that Judge is killing Ohtani this year. It's not even close. It's not even close. What's Otani batting? Anyone know? I'm looking down. I got to scroll down. Oh, there he is. 307. Okay. 307, 13 home runs isn't bad. Anything, Bobby? No calls. No calls on Raiders schedule release. What a bunch of gutless moments. Man, unbelievable. Place cracks me up, man.
Best happy hour in town, 5 to 7 p.m. and midnight to 2 a.m.
Now Draisaitl ahead. Breakaway speed. Down the slot. Saved by Hill. Roll off its pegs. Pietrangelo crashes into Hill and into the goal.
JT back with you. That's Golden Knights Radio, the great Dan Duva on the call. So here we go. If you want to get through, I got about a half an hour to go. 702-365-9200. I am shocked that I'm at headquarters and no one has a comment other than me on the schedule. The schedule is really good. So for Raider fans, this is off-season programming. Take advantage of it. This is one of my favorite shows of the year. And I got my A game. I love this schedule. I studied it late at night. Your opinion on the toughest game, the game you want the most, the game you're going to travel to, the game that you believe is a must win, where the whole season can change. That's a lot of conversation there, 702-365-9200. So back to the Golden Knights. Let's get to the game-winning goal by Edmonton in overtime that eliminated VGK.
Scramble in the crease. The Oilers have scored to win the series.
I thought it was very appropriate that Vegas lost that way, that they couldn't clear out the traffic in the crease and someone got in a greasy goal. That's the definition of a greasy goal. You got a whole bunch of sticks in the crease. Someone doesn't lay someone out and knock them into next week, and the puck's sitting there and someone jabs it in. Are you kidding me? That happened all year. I mean, the Vegas had a really good season, overall regular season, but at that point, to lose that way, I mean, you want to lose, you don't want to lose on a breakaway. You don't want to lose on a really dirty deflection or something like that, but that was troublesome. That really bothered me that they lost. And again, I tie in sporting events to social life. I do. I tie in everything to my social life. We only have so much time on this planet. I want it to be great all the time. And I hang out with a lot of people during the playoffs. That's when you invite people over for Grimaldi's Pizza. That's when you invite people over to come by and sit in your backyard and watch a game. And when you don't have any games, you can't do it. So, yeah, people will come by your house, but they're not like, oh, I want to go to JT's Backyard Brick because he's throwing a VGK party. He's going to have ice cold Modelo's and Grimaldi's. I'm going. I got nothing. And my Knicks, did you see my Knicks last night? How pathetic was that? The Knicks haven't won since the early 70s. They got Boston on the ropes, about to beat Boston and knock them out without Jason Tatum, who tore his Achilles, and they no-showed. They didn't even show up in Boston. And a bunch of plumbers and landscapers and pipe fitters beat the Knicks. Bunch of guys you never – I mean, can anybody guard Derek White? I mean, Steph Curry, I know, and Luka Doncic, I get it. Derek White is the best guy on the court. How does Derek White score more points than Karl Anthony Towns? Maybe my son can clip this at the 140 mark of the show, as I repeat. How in God's name does the Boston Celtics' Derek White score more points than Karl Anthony Towns? I can't believe it. I was in shock. Raining threes. You know Boston's going to shoot a three every time they get it. You know they're going to. You got to guard them out there behind the perimeter and Karl Anthony Towns took the night off. I can't believe it. So now the Knicks got to play a game 6 at home. If they lose that game, series is over. Boston will win without Jason Tatum. That's pressure. And the Knicks suck at home when they have to play under pressure. You want to talk about a team. This is my team. I'm a Knicks fan. You want to talk about a team that sucks at home when there's something big on the line? No one bigger than the Knicks. Maybe the Chargers back in the day were bigger chokers and bigger spots. The Knicks have to now win a game 6 at home, and they're going to show me Ben Stiller and the Jonas Brothers like I give a crap. Like I want to sit at home sweating bullets, nervous about losing, but they think I'm going to be happy when they show me Tracy Morgan and Ben Stiller. Come on. And Timothy Chalamet, the other guy they show us all the time. Oh, my God. I just can't believe it. So the Knicks, I'm hoping they win in 6. But at this point in time, it is very difficult to get this going. Last night, I got a gut punch. Knicks didn't show up. Got my dad and mom in the backyard. Knicks lose. Right after that, Golden Knights lose. Ugh. But I'm optimistic about the Raiders' schedule. Thank God someone is. I'm ready to go. 702-365-9200. I told you my favorite game is the Cowboys for obvious reasons. I mean, this is a big topic about selling tickets. I'm not the ticket police. I'm not the guy who's going to the airport to see who's flying in. I don't care where the Cowboy fans stay in their hotel rooms. But I will tell you this, when it comes to the schedule, Dallas is coming in with the most juice. They have the largest fan base in football, the Dallas Cowboys. Sorry, Raider fans. Sorry, Packer fans. Sorry, Chief fans. No one has a bigger fan base than America's team. And that's because of what they've been able to do for their entire existence and their 5 Super Bowl victories. So that's where we're at when it comes to this. And the Dallas game, to me, is going to be the big one. That is on November 17th, which is a Monday. Then the Raiders will play at home on that short week, which is nice. November 23rd against Cleveland. That's F1 weekend. So you're going to have Cowboy fans that are here till Tuesday, F1 fans coming in, and another Raider home game. And someone just asked me what is going to be the most difficult portion of the schedule. That's a really good question. I think the most difficult portion of the schedule will probably be Denver at Philly at Houston, which really isn't that difficult. Denver at home, at Houston. A lot of other people think the other difficult part of the schedule is the first 3 games. That's a good debate topic. First 3 games at New England, Chargers at home at Washington. I mean, New England had a worse record than the Raiders. We're 3-2 against the Chargers since we've come to Vegas. And Washington, at this time last year, had 4 wins. 4 wins, same as the Raiders. But that could be tough. You know, I don't expect the Raiders to lose at New England. But if they do lose at New England, that Charger game is going to be big because it's a home opener. You can't go 0-2. You've got to beat the Chargers to go 1-1. To go on the road at Washington. If you lose the Washington game, you're 1-2. You got to come home and beat the Bears to go 2-2. I think the glass is half full as you beat New England. You beat the Chargers at home. You're 2-0 going into the nation's capital. You come back, you beat the Bears. You could be 3-1. 4-0 for optimistic fans. But that's the way I look at the schedule. And I love the fact that we're getting Kansas City before the bye. Some would say after the bye. No, I think it's good to get them before the bye. October 19th at Kansas City. Notice they didn't make that a primetime game. They didn't put that. That's not our Thursday night football game or a Monday night game that we've seen or the Black Friday game playing after Thanksgiving and all of that. So I'm good with that there. Love the bye week before Halloween. So as soon as the Raiders beat Kansas City on October 19th, they don't play again until November 2nd. That's a lot of time off. That's a nice chunk of change to have off before you take on Jacksonville at home. And then from November 2nd to November 6th, back-to-back games, Jacksonville at Denver. All right, when we come back, we'll wrap it up on the other side. If you have a last call, if you want to get in on the schedule and what you like. Has anyone bought a hotel room yet? Can someone call in or Tweet me if you already bought a hotel room, if you already are on top of this crap. Anybody get on top of this yet, or are you going to wait? I got on top of it already. I'll tell you what I did with my son. Tell me the game that you want to go to on the road. I'll tell you mine.
Previously on Unnecessary Roughness.
Justin Mello for the Draft Network.
I think Jack Bech is in a unique situation where he's probably going to start right away. I don't know who's beating him for a starting gig on that offense. Ever since they traded Devontae Adams, they really haven't had a whole lot at that position. That's a tough, hard-nosed football player. He's selfless, team first. He embodies everything about a Pete Carroll football team. I think that pick's going to pay big-time dividends for the Raiders.
Don't miss Unnecessary Roughness. Weekdays.
All right, everybody. Kind of disappointed in the Raider fans today. I get fucking pissed off when people aren't as excited as me, but I'm excited. So I'm going to end this on a good note. I will see you back here tomorrow. I thought we had a great show today. Got to wake up this fan base, man. Got to wake up this fan base.